Hello everyone, Dan Swift here, founder and CEO at Numentum, and welcome to the Speaker Series, where we spotlight the most interesting minds in the world of revenue generation. At Numentum, we help forward-thinking B2B organizations create better buyer experiences and deliver new momentum to their revenue engine. On this episode of the Speaker Series, we speak with Kirsten Allegri Williams, Chief Marketing Officer at Optimizely. We have a great conversation around bringing healthy habits to our work lives, the connection between business and art, and how being a cancer survivor has made her stronger. Kirsten, welcome to the Speaker Series.
Dan, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. Well, Kirsten, you and I have known each other for a number of years. So what I'd like to do as part of this Speaker Series is get to know you away from the CMO role, the human being behind the CMO. Okay, so let's start with what you're doing right now, the CMO of Optimizely. Tell us a little bit about Optimizely and tell us a little bit about what you're focused on right now.
Sounds great, Dan. Thank you again for having me. And a little bit about myself. Yes, I am Kirsten Allegri Williams. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Optimizely. And we make it simple for brands to create sophisticated digital experiences. I have been with the company for just over a year. It is hard to believe.
Wow, it's flown.
And it has gone by so fast. We rebranded the company within 6 months of my tenure at Optimizely. We went on an aggressive brand-to-demand digital transformation with our own digital experience. And we are quickly on a path to really creating the essential growth engine for the business in how we drive brand awareness, consideration, and ultimately pipeline and growth for the business. So it's been an incredibly wild ride as we've grown our portfolio of capabilities. But we truly are in an incredible leadership position, which, been blessed by numerous analyst recognitions and accolades, leader in 4 categories since my tenure began. So leader in digital experience platforms, agile CMS, experimentation, and B2B commerce. So we're incredibly proud of our positioning and look forward to where we're going to take this company in the future.
Amazing. A lot of people listening to this session might be earlier on in their careers and will be aspiring to be a CMO one day. So I want to take you on a bit of a journey. I want them to hear from you about what it took, right, to get to where you are today. So first job, let's go all the way back. What was the first job that you had, Kirsten?
First job in technology or first job?
I want to know first job.
Okay. All right. Well, my first job, legitimate first job, I was a legal assistant in a law office in my hometown. And I did everything from filing of paperwork, which really dates me at this point in my career. But yes, we did have filing cabinets. Which I know software can now solve. I actually have a friend who's a CMO of a company that does exactly that. But so legal assistant in the early days, I would work part-time after school in between classes and sports and musical performances, and learned everything from medical malpractice, auto insurance claims, divorce, real estate, and just overall legal practice and getting ready for trial. I learned a lot when we prepared for trials in the courtroom. Taught me a lot about discovery, due diligence, and being prepared.
And then that transition, so you mentioned like first job in tech. So how did you get into tech? What was that transition?
Well, that is a blend of personal and professional. So Dan, you may not know this, but after college, I went to Paris, France to continue my studies in music and learned French. And when I came back after that experience, I started working for the fastest growing technology company in Silicon Valley at the time. I had no idea, but I worked for Loud Cloud, which was founded by exceptional innovators and investors, Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz. And it was my first experience in technology. I was working there as a temp and I was hooked. I loved the innovation. I loved the creativity in technology to solve really challenging problems, but through things that were kind of abstract, to articulate as a marketer. And I just, learned so much from that experience. And that was really the start of my career in technology. I mentioned the French experience because our head of sales in Europe at the time was French. And so I started working in field marketing. I was the only marketer in the company who had international experience of working in another country in the marketing team. And so I forged a very powerful relationship with our head of sales in Europe, who was French. And because I spoke the language, because I understood the cultural nuances of what it meant to be a global company, but operating in Silicon Valley, I actually was able to really progress in my career quite quickly because of the relationships that I established early on with sales.
And that European experience, France, but 16 years with SAP, Germany, any link or completely? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I joined after LoudCloud, I joined a company called Business Objects, French-based company. So because I spoke the language, I was able to really connect with our product leaders and engineers and structure all of our customer briefings and how to help our customers understand our overall strategic roadmap of where we're going in the analytics space. And then Business Objects was acquired by SAP. And I saw the opportunity of joining a very large global brand like SAP, also fitting really well with my own personal values of working for a global company, working across multiple time zones, and the scale that comes from working at a very large enterprise. Throughout my entire career at SAP, I always gravitated towards the high growth areas of the business. So I never stayed in one function or a segment for more than 2 years. I really made sure that I used that experience at SAP as an opportunity to expand and learn all the skills that I would need across the entire marketing and go-to-market functions. And working at SAP, I was able to make different career shifts throughout those 16 years. Working across segments, so small, medium, and enterprise businesses, the SMB segment, enterprise segments, industry go-to-market, and lines of business. And closing my career after working on our global supply chain and procurement businesses at Ariba, I was the CMO of SuccessFactors, which was the HR line of business at SAP. So I really used that tenure as an opportunity to learn and grow across, all the different lines of business that we served, and also have the skill and experience to walk the talk as a CMO, having actually been in the chair of every function of marketing. So there's not a lot of corners that people can hide from when it comes to, and from a B2B perspective on my team, I've walked the talk. I've sat in the chair of the role, and so I understand what it takes.
What were the 1, 2, 3 key learnings that you had in that 16-year period that people listening today could learn from?
I would say to always think like an entrepreneur. I think that big ideas can come from anywhere, even within a large organization like SAP. It's something that I've always had within my DNA, no matter where I was in the business, and something that I take forward into my role here at Optimizely, which is, if you have a great idea, that's one thing. But in order to create your vision, your strategy to execution, you can actually achieve incredible impact on a global scale. And so that was something that, in terms of a key takeaway, I would say is, always aim high. There's really limitless possibilities but you've got to put the discipline and the operational practice in place in order to actually execute and deliver results. So that would be one key learning. A second, because since you asked for two, I had the opportunity as a growth leader at the organization to do a strategy to action proposal with our co-CEO at the time, Jim Hageman-Snave. Mm-hmm. And what I learned from that experience is he met with our group of people in our cohort, our global cohort, working on this once a quarter. And I learned from that experience, somebody who's as busy as he dedicated the time. Mm-hmm. He really listened, and he gave us really the wings to innovate and to be inspired, but also to carry our ideas into action. And that was another really pivotal experience that I had as a leader, where I thought, gosh, if a CEO can give this kind of time and attention, then, I can too as a leader.
Right. When you think through your entire career, has there been one of those defining pivotal moments which made you look at things differently?
Well, that has to be my own, turning point as a cancer survivor, Dan. So, my daughter was a year old when I was diagnosed with cancer, and that experience of, number one, stepping out of work for obvious reasons. And I was fortunate to have the type of cancer that was treatable. And when I returned to work after that experience, I learned so much about myself and about what I wanted in my career and in my life for my family. And, I came out of, my return to work and rehabilitation into knowing that for me, my personal objective in life is to make a greater impact. I know that I'm very fortunate to have survived, and I don't take that for granted. And so it has really fueled my passion for the work that we all need to do to safeguard our global supply chains and sustainability, and the legacy we're leaving for our children on the planet. I'm very passionate about that. And also that commitment as leaders to ensuring that we have our health and wellness at the center of work. It is absolutely a priority for me that above all else, we prioritize our health. And now more than ever, in the conditions that we all find ourselves operating in, if we can't be healthy and we can't be there for our kids or our families, much less our coworkers. And so I would say it was a very pivotal life and work experience that I have carried through to everything that I do, everything that I stand for as a leader, everything that I try to work on from an innovation standpoint is all about the greater impact that we can make in leaving the planet in a better place than how we found it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I know you reasonably well, and I know you have a big passion outside of work. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, you must be referring about my side career.
your side hustle as an opera singer.
As an opera singer, yes. It's funny that just to harken back to what we talked about right at the top of the session about my experience living in France and learning another language. I was there in France because I was studying music. But I've always had a dual track career of singing and performing as a classically trained musician, while I also grew in my career in technology. And a lot of people will sometimes be surprised by that. I like to make a correlation between opera singing as in a similar way to people who run marathons. There's a lot of discipline that's involved. There's a lot of training that's involved. Some people happen to run marathons or golf or anything else that requires a high degree of discipline and technique. I just happen to be an opera singer. And so, I have had the pleasure of singing on some pretty amazing stages in my career, and also finding that balance of creativity within how I approach the marketing function as well. It's actually been a very introspective moment, especially in COVID at times. And it's exciting now that in the United States, we're starting to emerge from that, but just how much of an influence my opera singing informs the creative process of what I bring to work and how I collaborate across my team. I really believe that art and business can and should coexist, that art and the ability to connect with people on a human level in a business context is more relevant than ever. Ultimately, we have to connect human to human. And what sparks more imagination, creativity, and the art of the possible than art, music, drama, poetry? These are things that speak to us as people, as individuals. And I think, as a marketer, I always really try to push the boundaries of convention, of what B2B marketing can be. B2B doesn't have to be boring. I was told by a friend of mine, and I'll steal that with pride. But I agree. I think that now's the time for us to, as an industry, really look at the different creative vehicles that we have and how to bring that together in the business landscape.
Now, people will be listening to this, Kirsten, thinking, how does she have the bandwidth to do all of this? Like, be a successful CMO, an opera singer, a mom, a wife, absolutely incredible. But I am going to ask you this as well. I'm sure there's also frustrations when it comes to business, situations, people, the way that individuals interact, friction. What gets your goat? What gets the blood bubbling?
Well, if there's one problem that I am very passionate about solving, it's a concept that I like to call time poverty. Yeah. So in our work as marketers, there is nothing that makes me more sad, more frustrated than content that doesn't convert. That we spend as marketers so much time, or at least we have spent so much time in our industry creating content. There's so many people who produce content in a company. And if we don't have the insights, if we don't have the ability to understand what do customers and consumers actually want from us and be able to leverage, intelligence really to fuel the creative process. That's that marriage of art and science, which I think I bring as an artist, but also as a scientist in terms of, the functional capabilities we now have in a way that we can decode the world in ways that we've never been able to before. So something that I am really passionate about is solving this problem through digital experience. That, how do we save people time? Again, to get back to their health and wellness, to get back to being, family first, health first. That is the problem I'm trying to solve. And so for, the work that we do at Optimizely, I really believe through digital experience, we can actually solve for that time poverty gap, that we can create new paths to growth, that by understanding the digital customer journey, we can create new sources of the supply of goods and services and connect them into the global demand signals that are sparked by consumer signals. What are people telling us? And the more we can infuse, insights, experimentation right into the content and commerce creation process, the more time we can save to get back to living our lives.
So where can people learn more about what you're doing on this particular topic? Is there anything they can go read?
Oh, that's funny you mentioned that, Dan, because we were talking about that in our prep call. Yes, I authored a piece recently with Fortune, and I'm happy to share the link with you. But it talks about this time poverty concept, and really, the opportunity that as we create as marketers new paths to growth, understanding those market opportunities and how to actually compress the digital customer journey to really take the friction out of the process of exploring for new products, how to find them, and then ultimately how to engage with a brand. So I really believe we can unlock new market potential and growth by understanding how digital services can really accelerate, our paths to new revenue streams.
Amazing. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to pivot now. We want to talk a little bit about the work that we've done together. And we've worked together 3 times now in SAP Ariba, SAP SuccessFactors, and then most recently, obviously right now with Optimizely. So you continue to advocate for us. What is it about what we do at Empire what is the reason you keep advocating?
Well, Dan, I've always been an early adopter. And why? Because again, I'm trying to solve for this time savings.
Right.
I really believe that the more we understand about the digital experience, the consumer behaviors of how they're interacting with us online. So if you think about that inbound interest and demand that comes through our digital channels, then when we have a seller reaching out to that customer or prospect, to make that engagement more meaningful, higher impact. And what I have found in connecting the Empire selling approach together with how we drive high volume inbound demand, really having a clear methodology of how to convert that inbound demand with a human touch. Putting the seller in the shoes of the customer versus selling a product. And what I have found is working with you and your team, that we've been able to get much faster productivity of our sales development teams than we would have been able to do on our own. I think because you have the outside in perspective, enterprise experience, and in a lot of cases with our new sellers, they're ramping really quickly across a new product portfolio. And so being able to accelerate that productivity and time to value is also something that I have benefited multiple times in my career and with your partnership. And we expect, once again, incredible results from our Optimizely team as well.
I want to finish, before we do, with a bit of a quick fire round. Okay. You ready?
I think so. I don't know if I should be nervous.
No, not at all. I'll be kind.
Okay.
If there's anything you say with your answers that I think we need to just double click on a little bit and we'll go deeper, we will. Let's jump in. Quick fire round, question number 1.
Okay.
All right. Who is your hero?
My hero would be my grandmother on my mother's side. She was a Filipino immigrant and has survived multiple wars and raising children in the segregated South. And I really learned a lot from her resilience and strength.
I read your post on LinkedIn. Anybody listening to this, go look at the post on LinkedIn. Best sales kickoff you've ever been to and why?
It was in Vegas. There's so many in Las Vegas. I honestly, I think the most memorable sales kickoffs were, experiences where we brought people together and we were able to really get motivated behind a common vision of where the company was going. Nice.
Are you a morning lark or are you more of a night owl?
I would say, now that I have children, a morning lark, not a night owl. Wake up early. If I ever have last minute preparation to do for work, it happens in the early hours.
Yeah, I got you. Last Halloween costume, pivoting completely.
Last Halloween costume. I believe I was a cat, which is ironic because I'm allergic to cats. But my daughter loves cats. So I think there were leopards, some kind of leopards or tigers involved as well.
So many questions. Favorite city in the world? Paris?
Paris, yes. I hate to be too obvious, but yes, favorite city I would say is Paris. I have such fond memories and would love to visit again when it's safe to do so.
How many cups of coffee do you have a day?
2, but many times 3.
Favorite manager ever and why?
I don't want to name names because I don't want to. I've had so many incredible managers. I mean, I've been really blessed, Dan, to have worked for people who have been really inspiring and have cared deeply about me as a person. One of my favorite managers ever was someone who led with such an incredible level of transparency. I really learned so much working for this leader. It really informed a lot of the practices that I still instill today about, how to manage people and teams and how to get the best productivity out of people and willingness to go to breakthrough thinking because of transparent communication and relationship building at a one-to-one individual level.
You've shared a lot today. What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to know why you are in the room and then to own it. There's a difference between knowing why you're in the room, but then really owning it in the moment that when it counts. And I wish I could tell my former self, to really have that belief in myself and to trust that I knew where to take the business forward.
Final question for you. So what's the best piece of advice you could give to recent college graduates or people just starting out in their career?
Yeah. Well, I engage in our own team many interns. I make a really concerted effort to foster and nurture early talents. And what I would say is no matter what you are studying right now, no matter what career path you are thinking of pursuing, I believe every career path road will lead to digital experience. I truly believe that no matter what line of business you're going in, a intrinsic deep understanding of technology and digital business is really crucial for anyone graduating from college and looking out in the world to see what's their opportunity going to look like in terms of pursuing a job. Every single role will have some level of technology and digital strategy and experience underpinning that function.
Amazing. Could not agree more. Well, Kirsten, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today. Really appreciate it.